We are live. We're here with Omer, Molad from Vervoe. Omer, thank you so much for joining us. Lovely to see you. And it's a glorious Thursday afternoon here in Melbourne. We are having to do the masks a little bit, but luckily for us, we're both in enclosed rooms. And it looks like your lighting is way better than mine. I said I popped you a note on email saying, hey, your lighting should be good. And mine looks terrible at the moment. So
it's because I've got natural light.
You've got a natural glow. Beautiful. Hey, thanks for joining us. Some of the things we're talking about this year in our series of sort of partner discussions, digging more into some of these specific parts of recruitment process and recruitment infrastructure. We had several conversations last year that were more sort of high level around sponsorship and those sorts of things, and remote working. I think everyone's sick to death of hearing those things. So this year we're focused on sort of trying to dig into some of the specific things and really digging into some topics that people sort of have heard about, might have some knowledge of, but probably want some deeper info. And so today we're talking to you about skills assessment, which would be a logical place to start, seeing as you're the CEO of Vervoe, an online skills assessment platform. So why don't we start off with a really simple sort of high-level question for the uninitiated viewers amongst us. What is skills assessment? How do you describe it?
So maybe let's start with something even more basic, which is what is a skill?
Yep.
And the way that we think about skills is something that you can learn, as distinct from your personality, mm-hmm. which is typically fixed, or not necessarily fixed, but mm-hmm. changes very little over your lifetime. Whereas skills are things that we develop and learn. Some come naturally, but you can learn. Like you could learn to play the violin. There'll be a range. You know, there mm-hmm. might be people who are naturally more gifted, but if you practice, and that was kind of what you dedicated yourself to, you become pretty good. Mm-hmm. And we think of skills in sort of two dimensions: job-specific skills. Mm-hmm. So drawing or selling or being an accountant, or something to do with accounting, or general work skills. Mm-hmm. And they are skills that are applicable to all or many jobs, like being receptive to feedback, or working in a team, or communicating, things like that. Often referred to as soft skills, but that's really bad terminology, because actually they're the sort of, those skills are why people get hired and fired, right, or succeed. Yeah. And so when we think about a skills assessment, we think about those two dimensions: job-specific skills in particular, and also those other general work skills. What we don't include in that is personality or IQ/general mental ability, which is evaluated through cognitive assessments. Now, a skills assessment is, there is sort of a spectrum. So at the most basic level, it could be an Excel test, okay? Do you have good Excel skills? When we say skills assessment at Vervoe, we mean something that's tailored to the specific job at your specific company. Yeah. So for example, an umbrella salesman or salesperson is different to someone who sells software. And even within software sales, someone who works at IBM or Oracle, old school kind of companies, is probably different to someone who works at Snowflake or Vervoe, right? Yeah. And even within those companies, they might be different at different times of the company's growth. So what matters in that job, not in some generic off-the-shelf sense, but what matters for that job at that company at that time. And at the most basic level, what we're asking people to do is tasks that are relevant to the job. So skills assessment in the Vervoe world is a series of tasks that you would normally do on the job to give the candidate a realistic preview of what the job is like, and to give the employer, that whether it's a recruiter or hiring manager or whatever, a realistic sense of how is that candidate going to perform in your job at your company.
Yeah. Okay. And that's interesting, isn't it? Because quite often we hear people saying, I hired so-and-so because they had great potential. So they're sort of looking forward. We think they're going to be great, and that's absolutely, I think, a factor in why you should consider hiring someone. But often we hire people because we have a need now, but we have a function that needs fulfilling now, whether it's a project that we're running or a product that we're rolling out, and this cog being fulfilled successfully helps us do that. Brilliant. Okay.
And to connect those two, I don't think they're mutually exclusive. So we might decide, and when I say we, the royal we, a company might decide we want to hire a product manager, and we want to hire someone who is sort of at the junior end of the spectrum. And in order for them to operate at this level, they need A, B, C. But in order for them to be great in 2 or 3 years' time, they need X, Y. And so in order to develop X, Y in the future, we want them to be, receptive to feedback. We want them to be curious. We want them to be able to, and we'll test for that now. And those are skills. And we will test for those skills because those skills will be great indicators of whether that person will succeed quickly. And that's known as potential. But what's potential? Potential to be what and by when. So again, we always break it down to the individual skills and the context. And when you do that, you can test for almost anything.
Yeah, gotcha. Cool. So people watching this, some people might be thinking, yeah, that sounds great, but why? That's what interviews are for. Why can't we just keep interviewing? Why do we have to? Why does everything have to be online? Why can't we just keep doing what we're doing and just get better at interviewing?
Yeah, so many reasons why, but here are two big ones. One is interviews don't predict performance. And when I say interviews, I mean traditional unstructured interviews. What you do in interviews is you ask typically resume questions like, tell me about a time you did this, and what happened here, and the reality is that I don't want to say a negative thing like people lie. It's not that they lie out of malice. It's that they tell you what some people are good at interviewing, right? On the candidate side, they're good at selling themselves. And then other people are not, and that has no bearing on how well they'll perform in the actual role. And so what you get in an interview is you get a sense of like, do we get along? Are you nice? And your own biases are incorporated into the interview. So you tend to favor people who either look like you or you have common things with, traits with, or you're comfortable with. But you don't actually get, like, salespeople are great at interviews. That's what they do all day long. They're talking on the phone and on video, and they'll impress you. They know how to sell mainly themselves. But can they sell your product? Yeah. And that has nothing to do with how good they are at interviewing. The second thing is the biggest constraint on the planet is time. Yeah. We have a finite amount of it. And what happens with interviewing is you get 100 applicants and you only have time to interview 5. So what do? You screen out 95 of the others. How? By looking at their resume. That's called hiring. Yeah. And the way to do that is to find something that we can object to, right? And at the most sort of optimistic level, it's something that might be moderately relevant, like, I don't know, their grades, again, not predictive of performance. But at the most cynical level, it might be things like their gender, ethnicity, and a whole bunch of other things. Yeah. And that leads to terrible results because there are people in that 95 that are going to be probably the best performers in the role, just not as good at doing the things that help them to get noticed, right? Yeah. They're not great at being hired, which has nothing to do with how good they are designing stuff or selling stuff or sewing or whatever it is, driving a truck, right? And so if you want to know how good someone is at making an omelette, get them to make an omelette, and does the omelette taste good? Get them to work in the kitchen and see if they get along with the other people. And let me give you the best example. And this is the story I tell 5 times a day. And this is kind of like why all these other methods don't work. Roger Federer. Yep. If I sent you his high school transcript, what are you going to learn? You'll learn that I don't even know what his grades were like. Maybe they're good, maybe they're bad. Not going to tell you about his tennis. What if you interviewed him over coffee? You'll probably find out that, like, he's really nice and shy and introverted. Great. But it's only when you get to see him on the court that you gain an appreciation, not just for the brilliance, but for the the class, the grace that is unique to him. And so our thesis is everyone has a little bit of that in them. So give them an opportunity to be on the court, let them play and show you. Don't ask them silly questions where they'll tell you the answer that you want to hear. Okay, which typically favors people who are confident and good at interviewing.
Yeah, I totally agree. We often talk about interviews where people wear a mask. Sometimes they consciously wear a mask. So salespeople, you said, they're often performing in front of customers and making sales calls and trying to get a potential customer to like them before they like the product. Sales 101. But some people can unconsciously wear some kind of a mask where they might think they're good at something, or they're giving almost a performance. But that, you're right, that doesn't indicate that they are necessarily the best person for the role. And then interviewers are naturally inclined, when interviewing is just another thing they've got to do that day, and they want to make a hire, they'll naturally try and find things that they like within people, and these biases that we all have. I totally agree. Beautiful. And so I think one of the challenges that I think smaller organizations, HR, TA teams sort of face is the recent explosion over the last few years of HR tech. I think it's sort of been one of these. It's certainly done the hockey stick, hasn't it, in terms of the amount of options that are out there for people. And I think sometimes people can get overwhelmed because there's so many things, and we get emails from vendors of various kinds day in, day out, wanting to talk about the products. Where does a sort of a smaller scale TA HR team start? What have traditionally been the barriers for them trying something like this when they haven't necessarily had huge budgets?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of things. The first is awareness around what's possible. Okay, so the big companies, they have people dedicated to thinking about what's possible, and they do that through, they go to conferences and they buy research, and they're in groups and they do these kind of things. Small businesses are busy trying to survive, and people wear multiple hats. The HR person is responsible for payroll and recruiting. I mean, it's very different jobs. The CEO does recruiting, hiring managers do recruiting. And then you hire one recruiter and you sort of go from there. And they have very different budgets. So the first issue is sort of, how do you become aware that there are options and different ways of doing things? The second is HR vendors, typically HR tech vendors, I should say, almost all go after the enterprise, and they do it in a high touch way. In other words, talk to sales, and here's our sales process and demos, and then implementation, all this kind of stuff. And they do it for very obvious reasons. There's big deals, big logos, money in it, and there's a known, you can find your buyer, okay? You can look them up in, you know who they are. SMBs, there's millions of companies, they change, it's hard to find them, it's hard to get them. It's a much sort of harder market. But the reality is that it's like 90% of the economy, small businesses. And these businesses are in what we call resume and face-to-face interview hell, right? And there's a massive issue. And if you have 20 employees and you hire one and they're a disaster, that is a disaster for your business. Yeah. If you are Microsoft and you hire one employee and they don't work out, big whoop, whatever. Like that doesn't impact you at a business level, at a company level. And so, what we do is, aside from the actual solution itself, just in terms of the business model, is we continue to find ways to remove all the friction to accessing the product. So free trial, affordable pricing, sort of intuitive onboarding journey and activation. So everything about the product is designed so that anyone, and they might be from a big company, and sometimes they are, but particularly if they're from a smaller company or a startup or a small business or a mid-market company, and not just recruiters, but hiring managers, they can explore and discover on their own and get started immediately. And it's not an easy thing to do, but they don't have to now wait 3 days to hear back from someone and implementation and all these kind of things. Yeah. And there's a long way to go. You know, the market, the vast majority of the market is still doing the kind of old school way of hiring. But what we're trying to do is give them access to the sort of enterprise grade methods and technology in a way that is very accessible and easy to digest.
Yeah, I agree. It's really interesting with with the competition that's out there as well for good quality candidates, and every business says, we want to hire the best people possible. And when come back to your point, when you're a 20-person business, the margins for error in getting those hires wrong can be catastrophic, and those margins are tiny. So I think investing the time and having someone who can invest the time up front to get these things up and running has often been the challenge. So being able to onboard and see proof for yourself as a user that, hey, this is going the right way, and being able to link that directly to the performance of a team and an individual in the business down the track.
And people can't, when there's a new way of doing things. So if we were selling toaster ovens, we could say, hey, you know what a toaster oven is? It makes bread warm. Our toaster oven's nicer than the other toaster oven. Yeah. But when you're selling something that's a new way of doing things, it's harder for people to imagine. And so you want to give people an opportunity to try it. If we said to our customers, your whole company's now going to be hiring without resumes ever again, and you're going to pay this amount of money, they freak out. But if we say, why don't you do this for one role, and go, oh, now I'll do it for another role. Now I'll do it at the top of the funnel, and now I'll do this, and over time. And so that's one thing. The other thing you reminded me of, you talked about competing for talent. So there's this sort of myth that like having a rigorous selection process adds friction. Right. And by the way, it can, like when you're torturing people with 2-hour sort of tests and right. And they haven't been bought in. So, I probably shouldn't say this out loud, but I hate the word assessment. I think it's a crap word. It's something that like makes you think you're back in high school. And we just haven't found a better word that's easily understood. So, but the reality is that the way that we talk is we say, we're giving candidates an opportunity to showcase their talent. And who doesn't want that? And we survey candidates at massive scale, and the feedback is overwhelming. Candidates they do not want to be disqualified. They want an opportunity to put their best foot forward. They don't want to take 2 days off work and do something crazily sort of onerous, but if it's proportionate to the role, if it's a job that they want, and if the amount of time they have to invest is relevant to proportionate to their chances. So something short at the top of the funnel, and then when you're the top 3 or 5 candidates, you'll invest in something bigger. It takes less time than commuting to an interview, and sometimes 5 interviews. And it gives them a much better opportunity to showcase what they're capable of. And when it's positioned in that way, that's very different to like assessment. It sounds, nobody wants a piece of that.
Or testing. We're going to test you. Yeah.
And so like there's this kind of challenge, this balance around how do you make it feel like an opportunity, but also use language that's familiar to people and doesn't sound too wacky. And I think that's just also a market awareness thing. Over time, people will sort of appreciate that it doesn't mean what it used to mean 25 years ago, this hour-and-a-half-long psychometric thing where you want to scratch your eyes out. That's not what we do. What we do is like give you an opportunity. It's like in the movies, audition for the part. That is what we're trying to do, and who doesn't want that?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because recruiting by definition is an exclusionary exercise. Exclusatory, it's one of those two.
Exclusion, yeah, absolutely. You're eliminating people. It's a funnel.
Yeah. But I'd argue that 95% of the time we're excluding people based on something we think,
the wrong things,
on actual proven things. Yeah.
And so what we're trying to do is flatten the funnel and say, listen, don't screen anybody out. If you have 100 applicants, every single one of them gets an opportunity to prove their skills and showcase their talent under the same conditions, and then use that to form your impression of people and to decide what to do next. The result will still be you'll hire one person or whatever, but now you're basing your evaluation of the talent on their ability to actually perform tasks that are relevant, not where they went to school or how many years they spent at Google or whatever else used as a signal. That's really just a proxy.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things we talk about often with the clients is hiring confidence. So the suits have all been put away after the interview. The contracts have all gone out, and quite often you'll hear, not with our clients, but in general, you'll hear people say, "Well, if this person doesn't work out, I guess we'll have to hire somebody else." Oh, geez, I hope they work out. The best we could find. I see the whole concept of assessments and certainly what you're offering as being able to get better hiring confidence to hiring managers and hiring teams. I think also, and this isn't a bad thing by any stretch, I think it takes more of a commitment from hiring managers to get involved actively, mentally involved in the hiring process, rather than turning up at the interview that the recruiters booked in for them in room such and such with a copy of a resume, sitting and going through what they think is another torturous interview, and not taking any notes, forgetting the person's name by the time they've left. We've got to move on from that. Yeah.
I agree. It takes buy-in and it takes commitment, and you have to care. And we use the word confidence as well a lot, and that's the most important outcome. So it's giving a proficiency signal so people hire with confidence. That's how we talk. Yeah. And if you think about it, it's really simple. It's a game of reducing information asymmetry. So if someone works with you for 6 months, you've got a very high degree of confidence about what they can do. Yeah. Or if they work with you for a week. And so all we're trying to do is get as close as we can to that. We're saying, let's take a slice of that. There's no voodoo here. There's no it's a very fundamental, simple concept, which is come into my restaurant and do a shift in my kitchen. But we're saying, let's use technology to do that fast and in parallel and from everywhere and based on data. But it's the same principle. It's what the movie business has been doing since the beginning of time. And we're just doing that using technology and for every role. Yeah. But the underlying activity is very simple.
Yeah. Come and read for the part, and to use the Hollywood analogy. Come and read for the part, read with some other people, read alone, whatever.
That's it. I don't care that you were in this other movie 2 years ago. Maybe you were great in that and you're not good in this one.
Yeah.
Whatever. Is Tom Cruise going to be good in a horror film? Probably not. So now he's still Tom Cruise. Congratulations. Yeah. But for this film, he's not the right person. Yeah. And so that's what we're trying to find out here.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for anyone watching, the assessments that your platform's covering at the moment are across multiple domains, or?
Yeah. So we do. It's a sort of a huge variety, but in terms, there are sweet spots. There's stuff that we do a lot of. There's probably 3 areas we do a ton of stuff in. One is we do a lot of tech, so a lot of tech companies and tech roles, and not just the tech that is obvious, like software development, but all forms of tech and tech-enabled roles. The other is we do all manner of frontline knowledge workers, so customer-facing, so sales, customer service, all those marketing, all those kind of roles that are in an office. The third thing we do lots of is early careers, grads and interns. So they're the sort of big areas. And then there's like a long tail of, we do all the supermarkets for Walmart in Central America, and we do frontline. So we do retail and we do all sorts of stuff. But and increasingly we're doing a lot of healthcare as well. But those 3 categories are the biggest in terms of roles.
Yeah, brilliant. And I think 2021 this year, Certainly in Australia, there's renewed confidence in the market and certainly in the economy. I think we're going to start seeing application numbers going up. I think last year application numbers were low because people were hanging on to the jobs that they had. I think some people were and probably still are feeling loyal to the company that they're with, who maybe stood by them through COVID and they didn't lose the job, so they may not want to leave. But I certainly in the hospitality space and those markets, as they start to come back, application volumes will go up and you will see huge amounts of applications. So I'm guessing your platform is going to be a great way for some of those people hiring in those spaces to be able to rapidly make sort of assessments and some decisions on vast numbers of candidates.
Yeah, and there are certainly there's a portion of our customer base that uses us at huge scale. BPOs, retail, graduate programs, all the sort of high volume categories. They use us for first of all top of funnel efficiency, and then for confidence, as you mentioned before, when they get closer towards the bottom of the hiring funnel. But if I told you some of the numbers that we're processing for Walmart, for example, it's hard to, the number of zeros is extraordinary, and so like there's just no way that they would need a team 10 times as big in order. They did in fact have that in order to, and what they were doing was just like resumes and phone screens. There's not a lot of value in that. In doing that, there's no need. It's just like you don't send faxes today. You click a button, and so I think those kind of menial tasks have been replaced quite easily by technology. But how do you do that and get to like really quality, data driven, bias free or bias minimal outcomes at the same time? And that there's value in that.
Yeah, I agree. And the linear, highly repetitive, low value work, you shouldn't be having your recruiters doing that. They should be focusing. And the truth is, they probably don't want to be doing it either. It's probably the bane of most recruiters' existence. They want to be working on the other side.
They don't. I mean, we do all of Australia Post. Like we do like most of their hiring and all their Christmas casual stuff, and they were doing like, it took them. They were spending like 5 months of the year doing phone screens for that, and now they just like a few weeks and it all gets done. And now they probably take it for granted because it's just what you do. But like, and there's no way they're going back to that. And their recruiters can now focus on like valuable stuff, like actually, being proactive and talking to candidates and focusing. There's so many things you can be doing, and focusing on in-demand talent but not sifting through piles of stuff. Not a good use of time.
And that's a really, really interesting discussion for another point. As one I was having with someone earlier, is that so many businesses think that hiring is that all of recruitment and hiring is that part, is the sifting through candidates and applications, and all the other stuff that goes on to make great hiring and great repeatable high quality recruitment. There's so many other components, and the part that we're talking about is that highly repetitive linear stuff. Don't have the,
I mean, ideally you want to spend, and I'm not a recruitment professional, but like I would have thought 50% of your time marketing to candidates and building pipeline and nurturing talent and that kind of, and you don't want to spend it on like process, right? And then when you've got to the end of the process, you want to be closing candidates and you want to be dealing with like, ensuring the quality and making sure offers are accepted. There's like so many that are fundamentally human, relationship driven things that people should do, but like processing stuff and rejecting candidates automatically, like all this kind of like, that's not a good use of time.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And what have you found is the best way for businesses to get the most value? I think like anything, just got to get going, just get trying it, as you said, on one or two critical roles, get used to it. And I'm guessing what you've seen is people going, hey, we've done X, Y, and Z number of roles. I can't believe we haven't done it this way before. Thank God for that.
Yeah. So there's kind of, typically companies have an idea of what role they want to trial first. And sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't, but it's usually pretty hard to shift from that thinking. So we try and make that work. And and then there's kind of a question of, you know, we try and get an understanding of where are they up to in their understanding of what a really good assessment should look like.
Yeah.
And some folks are like doing great stuff offline, they bring it online, and that's awesome. And then others are kind of trying to replicate an interview, which is not good. And so they end up asking like questions that don't actually predict anything, or they do things that kind of abuse the technology, like let's have 15 video questions in a row and candidates just want to shoot themselves. And so we're constantly trying to get better at guiding towards that. And when it's an enterprise and you can have a discussion, that's fine. But when it's self-service and, you know, the product has to guide towards those outcomes. So that's a constant challenge. But we try and get them to that point where they're confident enough in the model and in the sort of the test itself to be able to put it out to candidates. And the sort of goal for us is the candidate, getting to the candidate invitation stage, right? So once they've invited candidates, we go, okay, they've kind of crossed. That's the hardest bit to get to. And when they get to that, the magic starts to happen. The candidates come in and they wake up the next morning like, oh my God, 30 people have done this thing and they're automatically ranked and I've got scores for each skill, and like, wow. But if they don't get to that, they don't get to see that. And they're like, well, what questions do I ask and how do I write? Yeah. So that is kind of, and so we try and we're trying to productize and automate this, but kind of really identify early, like how savvy are they in terms of, you know, evaluation, proper testing of candidates, and how much do we need to help them with that?
Yeah. It's coming back to your comment about interviews. It's this one thing that both sides of the equation hate. There's very few of my hiring managers I've ever had in X number of years of recruiting who've gone, hey, fantastic, we're interviewing today. I love interviews. There's very few people who wake up who are looking for a new job going, hey, brilliant, I can't wait to do this interview today.
And part of it, I think one of the issues with hiring is that because it's not something that's kind of like regulated, so say medicine, I'm not going to start practicing medicine. It wouldn't occur to me to do that. But everyone thinks they're good at recruitment for some reason. Yeah. There's no like recruitment university or whatever. So and so like it's like, you know, with hairdressing. Like I take it upon myself. I've been to a hairdresser in over 10 years. I cut my own hair, and the worst outcome is I'll look like crap. But I don't really care. And with recruitment, the consequences can be pretty grave. But people think, oh yeah, no, I know how to do that. And actually, no, it's a profession. Yeah. And it takes skill. Yeah. And assessment is a profession. And so you've got people who the kind of really think they know, and you can't say to people, no, you don't. It's kind of, so what we're trying to do is kind of influence and nudge and move people in the direction of, well, this is kind of a different way to think about it. And that, you know, that is a constant challenge, particularly with people who are not recruitment professionals, and they're like, well, this is how I've always done it, and this is what makes a good X, and I know. And so, you know, but that's just part of doing business, I think.
That's it. And to your point, the people who think they know how to do recruitment are usually the ones with the highest turnover in their businesses.
and that's right. And so good customers of, you know, in a category that we're creating is totally new, are folks who are kind of open to thinking differently. And we love, like, strong opinions are great, but let's be open to having a discussion about, you know, this is a new way of doing things, so let's talk about the best way to do that. And we want to learn from them. What we want to learn from them is, like, what do you care about in a great employee? What makes a great hire? You know that. You, the company, know that better than anyone. What we know is how to test for it. Yeah. Okay. You tell us what you care about. What's going to make a really good sales rep or customer service rep or product designer or whatever in your company? You tell us. We don't know. We will find the best way to test for that. That's what we're good at doing.
Yeah. Brilliant. Omer, we've been going for, I think, 40 odd minutes or so now, and we could probably talk all afternoon, but we probably shouldn't. You've got other things to do. Hey, thank you so much for your time. If people want to find out more about the product, they can go to vervoe.com.
Vervoe.com, vervoe.com.
Beautiful.
You can start a free trial. You can talk to the team. Everything's pretty self-explanatory. A lot of resources on the website, and we're pretty easy to find on LinkedIn and other places.
Yeah.
And you know, thanks so much for giving me an opportunity to talk about this stuff. I love it.
Absolutely, our pleasure. We'll put links. We'll put a link in the YouTube version of this down in the comments below. But again, friend, thank you so much. Absolute pleasure talking to you, and hopefully we get to see you soon.
Thanks so much, Simon.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks.